Tatiana, welcome. I'm so excited for our conversation.
Oh, thank you so much, Anita. I'm so excited to be here with you as well. It's gonna be great.
I know. And it's so funny because you and I have never met in person. We met, I think, a couple of years ago, Chuck Sulareski, who I used to work with at KeyBank, and then just kept in touch with because he was always like a great leader. And he sent me a message once and he said, "Do you know Tatiana?" He's like, "I really think you guys should connect. I feel like you're very similar. You've got a lot of same interests." And so I think I must have reached out to you and we connected and we've had an opportunity to talk. And then I've just loved watching your transformational journey over the last couple of years.
Yes, sending big love and thank you to Chuck for connecting us. And similarly, I have absolutely loved not just watching your journey and all the incredible things that you're doing, but learning from you. You're an
Oh,
inspiration to me. So I'm really excited to be in this conversation with you.
you're so kind. When I first met you, you were still in corporate and you'd worked at Walt Disney, you worked at Airbnb, Procter and Gamble. You've had a lot of experience. So tell me a little bit more, maybe just about your background in terms of corporate and also you not only were in corporate as a woman, you also are Latina, originally from Brazil. And so you've got this overlay of this immigrant story too. So anything that you think would be helpful just in terms of your background?
Yeah, thank you for asking. A little bit about me. I grew up in Brazil, in Sao Paulo. And since I was a little girl, I had this big dream of being an executive a day. I don't know why that was my big dream as a girl growing up. And the cool thing is, even though I would say Brazil is more patriarchal than the US, my dad believed in me. He thought the world was going to be led by women one day. So, like, he kind of started to coach me up at a young age to be and step into sort of like a leadership role. So that's kind of what I had as like a North Star, if you will, a lighthouse, was to be a big executive in like a big company. That was my interpretation of what success looked like. And
Yeah.
I remember there was like this magazine in Brazil that was a business magazine. Whenever there was a woman on the cover or a story about a woman leader, he would come and show me, just to try to show me that there were like women that were already doing it and paving the way. So, with that sort of dream in my heart, I moved to the US to go to college, and I met my husband in college and stayed. So, yeah, been now longer in the US than I was in Brazil. But I feel like when I started my career in corporate, it was incredible. I felt in many ways I was living the dream of my family.
Mm.
And at the same time, I didn't realize, honestly, how many challenges I was going to face as a woman and as a Latina in the corporate world, especially in sort of masculine dominated places and spaces. And one thing that I'll share is I learned, both because I feel people told me from an advice perspective, but also I learned, and it wasn't spoken, that in order for me to succeed in corporate, I needed to fit in. I needed to almost transform myself into someone else. So the parts of me that were Brazilian or the parts of me that were feminine just needed to go away. So in
Yeah.
many ways, I learned that. Like, I did the thing, I became the thing, I acted a certain way, how I talked with gestures and sort of war terms, postures like broad shoulders and confidence.
Yes. Take up space, right?
Like all of those things. It did all of that. And the truth is, in many ways, it worked because I was succeeding. I was getting the next thing and etc. But I lost myself. I completely lost myself. And
Yeah.
I feel like life has a way of sending us more subtle signals that things are off. And then when we don't listen to the subtle signals, the signals get louder and louder until like it kind of slaps you on the face. And I feel like I was in denial for a while. And 10 years ago, actually, I was diagnosed with early stage breast cancer, and it shook me to my core. I
Yeah.
was not expecting to hear that. I was fairly young. And it just taught me to reevaluate everything. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm literally
Yeah.
killing myself to sell laundry detergent. Like I'm selling laundry detergent. And I'm like, why? What's the purpose of this? And it just initiated this really deep, like inner journey. Yeah, it's just completely changed everything in my life. And it changed in the inside. And then it changed, obviously, my career trajectory and my views on leadership. And it opened up so much that now has taken me out of corporate and into stepping into what I feel is my bigger mission and purpose here in
Oh
this
my
world.
God. I want to go back, but first I just want to ask, how is your health?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I should say I'm healthy and yeah, doing really well. And even though it was a very difficult, challenging time, I honestly look back at it now through the lens of a gift in the sense of it
Yeah.
taught me so much and it woke me up when I needed sort of like
Hmm.
to be woken up and it's sending me in like a path that's been very beautiful. So now I look back at it with like the lens of gratitude and I'm yeah, healthy now. So thank goodness.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. So much of what you said really resonated with me because I think there are some unspoken rules, but I do think that through female mentorship too, we were able to observe, oh, this person is successful in corporate. This is how they dress. This is how they speak. This is how they engage, don't engage, who they spend time with, etc. And you start to model your behaviors. It's almost like a classroom in order to be successful. And I also, like you, just felt completely lost. I didn't know what was me and what wasn't me any longer. And because we start at such a young age anyway, like right out of college, so you're in your 20s, I mean, our prefrontal cortex is not even developed yet. And so you start conditioning yourself to these environments, which are heavily masculine, and that's okay. But it's also does start to impact your ability to identify who you are as a human being. And so, did you notice that you were losing yourself, or did you just now in hindsight are you able to look back and notice some of those different milestones?
Yeah, good question. I do feel like it was a little gradual, but it was also intentional on my part. I knew what I was doing. It wasn't that I didn't know what I was doing. It's one example, but I feel like it demonstrates. I remember when I first got my first job out of college, I went back to Brazil and my grandma took me shopping for business clothes to wear
Yeah.
for my first big job. The whole family was like super proud. And we went to a Brazilian store. And so we got very colorful business attire.
Yeah.
And I brought back to the US. And I, at the time, was working at like a manufacturing company. And basically, the uniform was like black pants and like white shirt. And
Yeah.
it's sort of like I walked in with this colors, and I'm like, I can't wear my Brazilian wardrobe. And so for basically, I don't know, almost a decade, all of these colorful Brazilian clothes just kind of like sat there in my
Mm.
closet. Many years, like thought about donating, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to donate because actually these are like parts of me. And there will be a time when
Mhm.
I'm going to be able to sort of get back to who I am. But I do remember the gradual shift. I think the toll of it gets bigger and heavier over time. So even though I intentionally knew what I was doing, I remember it getting to a point where I would look at myself in the mirror and be like, who are you? Just feeling kind of a disassociated from this personality that I had developed and this
Mhm.
armor that
Yeah.
I feel like I needed to wear in order to protect myself, in order to project myself in the way that I thought I needed to be, the way that I needed to lead. So it was intentional, but gradually it got worse. And gradually I feel
Yeah.
like I felt more of the weight and more of the cost of what that was, I think, mentally, emotionally, and physically kind of creating for myself until I had the wake up call and I'm like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. It's costing my health. I can't anymore. So I need to find a way to be me and to lead. You know what I mean? And that was the journey. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I just had another conversation today with someone else who had a health scare, a diagnosis, a cancer diagnosis that also woke her up. And it's so interesting when we are kind of dulled and we're numbed and we're not really present in noticing these things. But it'll take one scare for yourself or someone in your family, someone nearby, and suddenly we snap right out of it. Like, it's immediate. So what are some of the things that you did immediately after you got your diagnosis? Because you said that things started to shift and you kind of were like, "Okay, why am I killing myself for laundry detergent?"
Yeah, it was weird because at the time I just kind of had this realization that in order for me to go through sort of the treatment to be healthy again, if you will, like it was an internal job. I almost kind of had that awareness. And I remember my aunt from Brazil sent me a book. It was a Brazilian book, but it's basically about the infinite power of your mind,
Mm,
translation of the title. And it just got me really started in this inner journey, understanding about the power of our thoughts, the power of our minds. And it got me started with meditation and mindfulness. So when I was doing the treatments, when I was going through the things, I would do visualization. So it wasn't
yeah.
like I wasn't getting radiation. I was being bathed in light. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
the light was clearing on my cells. The light was bringing me back to health. And I would be meditating on the couch. It just became what I turned towards in order to sort of move through it in a way that I felt could be in the highest version of me. And then
Yeah.
after I went through everything, I was like, wow, I actually really like all of these things. Like it's worked. I feel like it worked. So it just, okay, how do I continue? And then I got into yoga when I got my
Mm.
energy kind of like in strength back. And yeah, and then I just was reading and studying, and it just became sort of my main focus was actually sort of my inner growth. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, meditation, mindfulness, yoga, all these things, they're ancient practices that are so nourishing and there's
Yeah.
so much wisdom. I know some people are just discovering them now. And I think maybe sometimes modern day society needs the science to prove the things that have been working for over 5,000 years. So I'm happy to see that it's become more mainstream. But what would you say have been some of the biggest impacts with your practices, your daily practices, in terms of how you approach work, how you approach life, or just anything?
It's changed. I mean, it's changed everything,
Yeah.
every aspect of my life. I think even for, again, type A, high achiever, busy professional people, when I started like meditation or mindfulness, it's like, I can't sit still. My mind doesn't stop. It's always going. You know what I mean? Like all of
Yeah.
those things that like,
Everyone thinks they're special. They are the only ones that can't meditate.
yeah, that's not for me. That's like for those people like over there.
Yeah.
So I feel I just had a lot of misunderstanding of what it was and what the practice was about. And I think for me, the biggest thing was realizing I'm not my thoughts. The novellas, I call novellas
Yes.
because I'm Brazilian, but like very dramatic novellas in my head and like all of that I'm constantly creating. They're not me. That's not true. And so through the meditation and mindfulness practice, just practicing like awareness, just greater awareness. And then over time, through other practices, learning how to shift like my subconscious belief systems. So I would stop co-creating with a lot of the things that like I had been co-creating with when you were asking me earlier about growing up in corporate as a woman and as a Latina. Goodness, there's so many beliefs that I have had to like go deep within and sort of uproot sort of out of me that I had
Yeah.
been co-creating with. Some of it consciously, some of it not consciously, but that had been costing sort of my ability to just be myself and to be my full empowerment and my full expression. But when you're in corporate spaces that are so masculine and not a lot of people of color, the idea that I needed to fit in deep down meant that I didn't think that me as my true self, I was good enough, right?
Yeah.
Like, therefore, I needed to shift in order to fit in order to be accepted, in order to succeed. And a lot of from that comes like I think I had a lot of victimhood sort of mindset. I felt like I was less than. I felt like I was constantly trying to prove myself, and I didn't maybe belong in certain places. I was trying to like overcorrect. So there was just a lot of mindsets, belief systems that had been driving my ambition and my drive because I wanted to prove all of that wrong so bad. I wanted to prove that women, girls like me could succeed. And while there was a lot of positive things that came from that, it came from a fear of not being good enough, right? So it was just
Mhm.
never enough. It was like this constant chase. The wheel never
Yeah.
stopped. And so these practices just started to allow greater self-awareness and like inner transformation so I could over time remember I'm already good enough, I'm whole and complete as I
Yeah.
am, and it's safe and it's okay to be me, and like how to express myself authentically and lead in a way that feels authentic to me, like that. Because of these practices, I was able to unlearn and unravel all of that so I
Yeah.
could come back home to who I am.
Mhm.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
What has the process been like to sort of rediscover who you are?
Mm. It's an up and down roller coaster, transparently. I mean, there are days when I feel very clear and very present. And especially right now, after I left corporate 9 months ago, there's such freedom that I feel in terms of freedom in this like heaviness that just kind of lifted out of me. And I can just like, breathe and be myself and live the way that I want to live and do what I want to do. There's just so much space and so much
Yeah.
freedom. At the same time, I feel like it's been a metamorphosis, letting go and releasing the caterpillar and letting parts of me die that had been what I thought my identity was.
Like
You know,
what? Can you share some of what those are?
yeah, I mean, I'm a successful executive at like a big
Right.
company, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it sounds really shallow and like, but that boosted my ego.
Of
Like,
course.
it made me
You
feel,
worked for it.
yeah, I worked so hard. It made me feel validated and
Yeah.
important. And again, I feel like a little yucky and vulnerable in sharing this, but it's kind of what I had defined myself, or having a calendar that was super busy with all of
Oh,
these
yeah.
meetings made me feel so valuable, so important, and creating so much impact and whatever. Anyway, so there's just so many, I don't know, just so many things that I
Yeah.
thought was who I was. And so when going through this metamorphosis process and letting that go and letting those parts of me die, I can feel really scary and messy and wobbly. I feel like, especially in the in between phase, when you know you're not that anymore, but you're not
Mhm.
quite sure what the new butterfly is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like it's taken a lot of courage, I would say, and trust and surrendering, which to me has been a very foreign concept, because again,
Mhm.
we learn to like make it happen, go out
Right.
there and force kind of your way through it.
Yeah.
And all of that, just letting go can trigger like some different things. So it's just being very much woo, like a little, but more and more, like day by day, step by step, it's just more and more stepping into the new and really embodying that, which now I
Mhm.
think almost, I don't know, 9 months since leaving corporate, I feel like I'm finally sort of stabilizing, beginning to, because I
Yeah.
feel like I had to go through a very intense detox. I don't know if you can relate to
Oh my
what
god. I totally relate. I tell everyone, like, the first, I don't know how long, months, you are
yeah.
literally detoxifying from the experience, you're regulating your nervous system, your calendar is completely blank, which is something that I've never experienced before, right? So suddenly, I mean, because it's never empty, not on the weekend, not when you were in school, not when you start working right away. And I remember that being the most a little triggering, because I was like, wait, what am I going to do? Am I a bad person if I don't sit at my desk and work for 8 to 10 hours or whatever at the beginning? So I totally relate with all of that. And you have to intentionally choose how to spend your time, intentionally choose what's important, what you choose to prioritize, making time for things maybe you just hadn't made time for in a while. So you said you're 9 months out of leaving corporate. So what stage are you in right now? And maybe tell us a little bit more about like what you are currently working on.
Yeah. It's funny, and because I had done a lot of work, a lot of inner work prior to actually leaving. So I thought, I'm like, you know what? I'm good. Like, I don't know.
I'm ready. I've done the work.
Yeah, good. I've done so much work. I mean, it'd been like 8 years of doing this
Yeah.
work. So I'm like, wow, I mean, I'm in a good place. I'm like, okay, it's probably gonna feel a little weird, like a little bit, but it's gonna be good. And then I feel like I left and I felt like a little high of, oh my God, like I did it, da da da. And then like I crashed and it was like, oh,
Mm,
and yeah, it just hit me, the detox. I kind of went in a cocoon and it was pretty significant and intense. Another thing I learned was to not have a timeline.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give myself, I don't know, 3 weeks. 3 weeks should be fine. But like, oh no, like I needed more. So it's just been like, yeah, a process of self-discovery, of grace, of compassion for myself, just going through the journey. But yeah, I thought I was gonna leave. I was gonna have a few weeks to do my thing, and then I was gonna immediately jump into building what I wanted. The reason why I wanted to leave corporate was because I've been getting more and more clear about my mission and what I feel really inspired to create. So I'm like, that's it. I'm gonna go all in. And I really haven't yet. I feel like this journey has taken longer than I thought. I have been doing some things, I've been playing. I've been in a very playful energy of exploring 101 coaching or group coaching. And I've been really inspired because of the journey that I've been going through to inspire other women leaders to go through this similar journey of personal, professional, and spiritual transformation so we can
Yeah.
rise into our fullest and truest expression. So that's kind of what I want to do, is to support, to guide, to share as much as I can of what I've been learning with other women. And I've been playing with different ways and different things. But yeah, what my expectation or my plan was and what has happened has been very, very different. At the same time, I'm beginning to feel I'm coming out of the cocoon. Like I
Yeah.
don't feel yet sort of this fully embodied butterfly with the wings spread and flapping and flying around everywhere. But I'm beginning, like, okay, I can feel my wings. I can see the colors. I'm beginning to sort of play, yeah, a little bit more. So I feel like that's the phase that I'm sort of moving into, is the full sort of embodiment and living into the mission that I feel has been brewing within me for a few years now. So,
Yeah. It's so important to remember that this is uncharted territory. Like when we choose to leave, there's no HR team that is going to give you your job description, who is going to tell you, here's how we onboard you. You're figuring all those things out. And luckily, I would say corporate is such a great training ground for running your own business and for figuring it out. But it's also different. You get to choose, you get to remember, like, I get to choose what this looks like. And a couple of things that you said that totally make sense is one, whatever timeline you have, like unrealistic expectation, give yourself some grace because there are things that are going to happen that you didn't plan for and they're amazing. There are things that you tried to make happen and it didn't exactly work out, and that's okay. Everything is information, it's not failure. And just got to the point, I think you called it surrendering, which I love. I got to the point where I said, I don't need my entire path lit. I have a really good vision of kind of where I want to be each year in my business, but I'm okay with just knowing what I need to do today, tomorrow, this week, this month, etc. And then allowing myself to be open to blessings and chance encounters and the synchronicities to happen. And that's where the magic really is. It's like if we can allow ourselves to be more in the moment, to surrender a little bit, still have that North Star where you're going, but so much of the goodness just happens along the journey. And it's tough to become a butterfly. There's a lot of work there. It doesn't just happen. They don't just come out of their cocoon easily. So every step, every part, every struggle, every success is just a huge part of that. Yeah, definitely give yourself grace and celebrate all the little things every single day because there's growth every day. We weren't necessarily celebrating all those things before.
oh, I love that. That's such a good reminder. Yeah, to celebrate and to be more present. I feel like for me, I was always kind of leaving towards the future of what's
Yeah.
next, what's the next thing. And just, yeah, to your point, just being present in the moment, being open to what's going to unfold, celebrating like each moment. Those are things that feel very new. And I feel like, at least for me, and I love you mentioned intentionally choose. It's
Yeah.
such a powerful that we get to choose. Like you're choosing all the time. So what do you want to create? And I think for me, part of the going through this metamorphosis is I knew how to create in the old way. The
Right.
things that I had learned in corporate, and it was in many ways, I learned so much. And a lot of things are very positive, but I'm learning more about like masculine energy, feminine energy, and a lot of what I had learned in corporate in terms of how to build, how to lead come from an immature masculine energy based on like fear or doubt or competition or scarcity, like
Yeah.
some of those things. And I've been very intentional and conscious of what I'm creating next will not, cannot bring that with. So every time that I would begin to build and I would sense any of those kind of mindset or energies kind of coming with, I would like
Yeah.
pause, do the work, do the inner work, like release,
Mhm.
because as you're saying, the intentionally choosing and the creating the new, at least for me, and I've been journeying through that personally recently, is really this integration of the masculine and the feminine energies. Like, what
Yeah.
does that mean? And how do you dance between surrendering and taking inspired action? To your point, is like,
Oh, yeah.
it's such a dance and it's so new. And I feel like there's so many of us going through this path and journey of learning that right now, and I haven't found a book or like it's not the normal basic things. So it's
Yeah.
not an HR department. There isn't a clear path. There isn't here's the 10-step thing that you do. And for, I don't know, high achieving women leaders, because like we've had a path. We've known what the next ring in the corporate was to climb to. It had been very clear. And now we're over here like, oh shoot, like there
Yeah.
isn't a clear path, and that's actually the beauty of it because we're creating the new, but it feels so sometimes unsettling or disorienting,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I would say, like, for me and for you, we probably had a really healthy dose of the masculine energy.
Oh
And
yeah.
there's the healthy, which is allows you to hit timelines and to do all the great things and be successful in business. There's the distorted, where we get to the stages of burnout, which I experienced, and I think you experienced as well. It's when we spend way too much time pushing and striving in the distorted masculine. And then there's this beautiful, healthy feminine, which is the inspiration and the creativity and allowing yourself to be in flow and to be in a state that just feels good and natural. And we're
Mm,
not talking gender here, we're talking like yin yang energies. And both of us have them within our bodies. And it does feel different. And it is the play and the experimentation that allows us to find what feels right for us. And I didn't want to create my business doing it the way I did it before, because whether you're in corporate or you're building your own business, if you're in that distorted masculine energy, you will get burned out in your own business. And I was like, I want to love what I'm creating. I don't want to hate it. I don't want to regret it. I don't want to have resentment. I don't need to do that again. So I have to check myself all the time. And
mm,
that's where those routines, spending time in nature, spending time with my family, having a calendar full of time with the people that I care about, exercising, reading my books when I want to, being outside in the sun. These are the things that I know that resource me, that allow me to fill myself up so that I can be there and do all of the things. And if I don't do it, I revert back to the old and it never ever turns out well. It's like never good. And so there is no exact science to it. It's just the experimentation and figuring it out for yourself.
yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's so true. It's like we sometimes go to what feels normal, to what
Yeah.
like
What
new
we're
or what
used to.
we're used to. Yeah. And it's really interesting because I've connected with a lot of amazing women, especially who similarly have left corporate and are going through similar journeys. And I have almost noticed a pattern that if we don't consciously and intentionally go through this process that we're talking
Mhm.
about in terms of maturing or getting to a more healthy dynamic between the
Yeah.
masculine and feminine energies within us, we end up struggling with our business. And a
Mhm.
lot of them sometimes think they have to go back. We have to like go back to sort of the old. And I feel like it is such a powerful time right now to have this conversation so that women can know and see that there is another way, there is another path. And a lot of it will be based on self discovery, but also we are not meant to do it alone. I would love to hear you mentioned to me earlier that you went on this incredible retreat
Yeah.
mastermind. I saw a post of you skydiving, but I feel like you and I talked about this, the power of being in groups of other women leaders and women entrepreneurs. And I'd love to hear
Yeah.
about your
Oh,
recent.
yeah. I joined a mastermind last year, last May, and so I've been part of it for the last 12 months. It can get really lonely when you move from corporate where you're interacting with so many people all day long to them being by yourself. You have meetings with clients, of course, but just really creating by yourself, thinking by yourself constantly. So I joined a business mastermind, and I joined one that was very much focused on a lot of reframing how we do business, doing it more from a feminine energy perspective. And it was so amazing to find my tribe, like to find these other beautiful, amazing, talented women who are doing great things in the world, who also many have similar stories to mine. And it was so inspiring just to be in community. And we meet every week. And then we did a retreat in person just now in San Diego, and spending a week with these women, really doing energetic work, doing business strategy, talking about how do we want to create a life, an integrated life together, was just so, I don't even know how to describe it. It's unlike anything I've ever experienced. There's zero competition. There's just pure love and an encouragement, and just like no one's competing with each other. There's so much space. There's no scarcity. And we practiced doing courageous things every day. There's every day you're stretched, every day you're pushed a little bit out of your comfort zone. And my intention was to be so present, to connect with people I didn't necessarily know as well, to make sure I was sitting next to new people every time we were doing a new activity. And on the last day, one of my friends, she skydived for the first time in December, Cindy, and she lives in San Diego. And she did it because she really felt like she needed to face some fears and overcome some fears that she had in life and in her business. And since then, she had skydived like a couple more times. And then she asked if we wanted to skydive on Friday. And so 5 of us, including her, we went. And it was never something that I was like, oh, yeah, I want to jump out of an airplane. I'm not a risk taker. I'm not an adrenaline junkie or anything like that. But for some reason, I allowed myself to just say, this is an interesting opportunity. How do I feel about it? So I sat with it for a few days. And at first, it was a curiosity, like, oh, this is interesting. What would this do for me? What would it feel like? Is this a fear? Are there things I'm worried about? And then Thursday, because it was supposed to happen Friday, we had to make a decision by 10 at night. And literally at like 9:55, we were sitting outside by a bonfire, and Cindy's like, did you call? And I was like, no, but I'm going to. So I like ran to grab my credit card, and I called, and I made the appointment for me, for my friend Caroline. And so then other people did the same. So there were like 5 of us. And we went, and it was kind of like overcast skies. So we didn't know if we were actually going to be able to do it. We had to wait for 3 hours. And there were 6 minutes left before 5:30, which would have been the cutoff where they wouldn't have done any more flights. And it was like 5:24, and the guy who was in charge said, all right, let's go. We're going. And so it was like, so we went from like sitting, just hanging out there to, okay, we are going. And then like so fast. And this was so interesting because the women and I talked about this. So we're like strong women, but there was something that was actually really beautiful about being in the healthy, strong, professional, masculine energy of our guides, of our instructors that we were jumping with, because you are connected tandem to another human being that you've never met before. And you are connected at the waist, you're connected at the shoulders, you are connected all around your midsection, and you are strapped on to this person that you've never met before. And it's a man, right? But they were so professional, and the actual connection to another human, and then all of us sitting together going up on the plane to 13,000 feet, was actually really soothing to the nervous system. It's almost like being swaddled, like as a baby. You're like, okay, this feels okay. This feels safe. And then when we got to the edge, he's like, okay, just kind of like squat down, loose knees, allow me to guide you into the air out of the plane. And then there's a few instructions like banana back, put your head backwards, tap on the shoulder, open your arms, and then just enjoy. Look at the horizon because you're horizontal as you're free falling. It does not feel like your stomach is dropping. It does not feel like a roller coaster at all. You just feel, you're going fast because the air is coming. You can feel the air everywhere, but you feel like you're floating. And to just look around and to see the ocean and to see everything, I was like, "Oh, I'm so jealous of the birds because they get to do this all the time." And then when they pulled a chute and now you're just coasting and it's just like super gentle. You feel like you're just kind of floating around and really safe and gentle. And he did some tricks and stuff like that. And then we had a beautiful landing. It was like knees up, extend your legs. Okay, I'm going to drop first. Now walk with me. And it was like 3 steps and we were done. Like no jerk, no nothing. It was so completely amazing. And I'm still riding that high. I can't even tell you. It just felt so much energy, so much healthy energy. And now I could see why people like to jump multiple times because I'm sure I'll go back again.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, all of it. The
Yeah.
retreat and the jumping, just leaning outside of our comfort zone for growth and the experience of jumping.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I love that so much. You're inspiring me. Maybe one day. I have never done it. My husband has. But yeah, it sounds very thrilling and freeing and exhilarating, like all of those things at the same time.
Yeah, you do. You feel so free. And I think to do something like that, especially if it feels courageous, everything else seems that much easier. I can record some content. I can go do something.
I can
Jumped
make
out of
a
a
post.
plane. I was actually more scared to do cold plunging the day before that. We had some cold plunges, ice, and everything. And I think maybe this is why I wasn't scared on Friday. Once I did that, and I did it twice, and I went in for over 5 minutes each time, I regulated my nervous system so quickly just by breath work. And then once you regulate your nervous system and your heart rate is slow and you're breathing normally, then the fear is not there. And I wear an aura ring, and I was curious to see if it would capture the heart rate increase. My heart rate didn't go up when I was up there or jumping. Isn't that
Wow,
weird? I
that is
know.
incredible. I
I
mean,
know.
pretty
So it's
incredible.
all up here. It's like you're not your thoughts.
Yeah, you're not your thoughts. Love that so much. Yeah, breath work. And I know your breath work is a big part of your practice and what you teach. I find it so incredible that just a few minutes of an intentional breath exercise can just completely change our
Completely.
nervous system, how we're
Yeah.
feeling, everything is just
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah, and I'm curious for business professional people that feel like they don't have time or feel like they can't meditate. I feel like
Yeah.
breath work just cuts right through it because like, it's just like
So
boom.
fast. Yeah, especially for people who have a hard time sitting quietly, breath work really is helpful. I mean, breath work, meditation, cold plunges, 3 ways to stimulate your vagus nerve the fastest and to move from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic. Especially if you're counting or just paying attention to your breath, you can't have 2 thoughts in your mind at the same time. So that's really helpful to kind of quiet everything. I highly recommend it, of course, for everybody to breathe and to learn some breathwork patterns. And there's so many free resources as well. But for folks, if they want to work with you, Tatiana, what are some of the ways that folks can work with you?
Yes, thank you for asking. Well, you can find me on LinkedIn, Tatiana Quaife. I am, I'd say, most present there right now, but I also launched my website, Rising Women's Sisterhood. So, especially for professional, high achieving women who are going through a similar journey of personal, professional, and spiritual transformation, going through that
Yeah.
metamorphosis to create our next chapter that feels really authentically aligned. I would absolutely love to connect. And yeah, through LinkedIn or the Rising Women's Sisterhood website would be what I would recommend to check out.
That's wonderful. We'll definitely include all those links in the show notes. And Tatiana, final question I ask everyone is what does it mean to you to live the width of your life?
Honestly, it's so funny. It's so relevant, I would say, for me right now, because I feel like I'm just stepping into almost like redefining and experiencing that. But I feel like the other day I was walking in the neighborhood with nature as you were talking, and I'm like, wow, like okay, so going through this journey has really felt like about liberation. I feel like I'm just liberating myself from all of this gunk and all of these things, all the old stuff. And I just was reflecting on, okay, what's on the other side of liberation? And for me, it was like freedom. It was
Oh, yeah.
freedom freedom to be myself fully, freedom to live my life to the fullest and doing what I love and what I enjoy with people that I love, and whenever it is that I want to create and build what I feel inspired to create. And I'm tuning into right now, I'm preparing to go to spend a month in Greece. And honestly, the idea of doing that, experiencing that a year ago wasn't even in my sphere of possibilities.
Possibilities, right?
Like it wasn't just even there. Like, I mean, that's not possible. And here we are preparing, and I'm going to spend 2 weeks in Greece with my husband and my daughter. She's really into mythology. We're going to be like doing all the things there. And then I'm going to join a 2 week retreat for women leaders in an island in Greece. And my whole heart just like overflows right now with so much joy and excitement of the idea and the fact that I get to like experience that. And
Yeah.
again, a year ago, I didn't even think this was a possibility. And I feel like it's also just beginning at the same time. Things are just beginning to unfold. And to me, leaving the full width is to say yes, yes to these things that are unfolding. And I don't know what they are fully. I really don't.
Yeah.
And I trust and I'm open and I'm a yes.
I love that so much. I think that's a beautiful way to think of it. Like, say yes to the opportunities that are unfolding, that are available around you. Tatiana, it has been such a delight talking to you, having you on the show. I cannot wait to hear about your retreat and the big takeaways, the breakthroughs that you are going to have, because I'm sure there will be many. And yeah, much continued success to you.
To you too. Thank you so much. And you'd have a beautiful day.
You too.